there, Jamie Dawes from Dawes Accountants here. In this video, we're going to look at the bank reconciliation on Xero and just explain the importance of at each of your periods end to check this against your actual physical bank statement. So unfortunately, with the bank feeds, the automatic bank feeds into Xero, it isn't foolproof. So unfortunately, they can have errors when they bring in the data. Now, this isn't Xero's fault, it's the banks themselves and the feeds that they use to pull the data across. What can happen is days can be missed. Unfortunately, also duplications can come in. So what it can mean is the data that's in Xero might not match exactly to your actual physical bank statement ins and outs movements. So what we suggest you do at regular intervals, so you might want to do this weekly, you might do it monthly, I suggest at least monthly, just to make sure it's less amount of data to stay on top of, but you might want to do it more regularly, you might want to do it daily, you might want to do it weekly, however regularly you want to do it. But at your set period end that you're looking at, what you need to do is for each bank account, so on your dashboard here, all your bank accounts will be listed. So in this demonstration company, we've got a business current account, we've got a savings account. You might also have, petty cash, and petty cash, you'd agree to your physical petty cash records. You might also have a credit card, so you'd agree that to the credit card statement. So yeah, any bank balance you need to reconcile to actual physical statement data to ensure that Xero matches up to the actual situation in the account. So to do that check, firstly, you want to make sure that all the transactions have been reconciled for the period you're doing. So here you've got 29 unreconciled transactions. So what you'd want to make sure, you can see here we've got a transaction 2nd of August. So for this bank account, we'd only really want to check up to the 31st of July because you've still got some entries to do. So you would do that. So what you can do is either from the dashboard or in this screen, the report you want to look at is you can click on the 3 dots here and then you go reconciliation report. So if you right click, you can open that in a new tab or just view it in the tab you're in. So when you come and look at this reconciliation screen, what you need to do is put the date that you're looking at to reconcile up to. So, I just said we want to look at 31st of July. So if we look at that, so you can see on this one, what we'd hope when we look at the actual physical bank statement is that it equals £253.24. If it doesn't, it means you've got a problem. Something doesn't match up to Xero. Now, what you've got there is really 2 options. Unfortunately, one option is to actually hit back the Xero bank statement to your physical bank statement to see what transactions might be missing. Or second option is to come to us, and we have a software where we can actually compare bank statement data to Xero bank statement data, and it will highlight any omissions or duplications. So it will highlight those transactions. Unfortunately, it does come at a cost, and we charge £40 plus VAT for that report at the time of this video in September 2022. But that will save you the time of having to manually find your differences of Xero compared to your bank statement. Now, if you had run this report, so for instance, if we run it just going forward right till today's date, if you were to have some transactions come up which says outstanding payments, outstanding receipts, now what that means is you've got transactions that are on Xero that haven't come through the bank statement. So common instances of this that actually are genuine could be that there's a timing difference. So perhaps right at the period end that Xero from the bank feed has pulled in a transaction dated, say, end of the month, and on your actual bank statement it actually clears, say, 1st of the month. So when you look at that and compare those, that would be fine. So it would make sense and still reconcile. You could have a check that you've banked, that you've reported an invoice is paid on Xero, but the check hasn't come through the bank yet, so that would be fine as well, and Xero would be correct to show it as unreconciled and not come through your statement yet. But if you see a transaction here that says outstanding payment or outstanding receipt, and you can look on your bank statement and go, no, that has actually come through the bank statement. So what that could mean is either it's missing on Xero, but what it's more likely to mean is that it's been analysed incorrectly on Xero. Now, the most common ones where this can happen is if you, for instance, go to one of your invoices and manually mark it off as paid. So, for instance, if we look at ones that are awaiting payment on this demo, so for instance, if we mark this one off as paid, we enter payment details here and then add payment. So that would mark it as paid, and you would mark it as paid into the bank account. So it would create a bank entry. Now, if, for instance, that payment came through onto your bank feed, and instead of using find and match and matching it to the payment, you created a receive money transaction because you couldn't find the invoice for payment. So if you just went, oh, that's not gone green, oh, that's received money, so just fill in these details, that would reconcile that payment through the bank, but then you'd also have your payment that you've just manually put onto your invoice. So if that's what's happened, what you'll need to do is find that transaction that you've done as a spend money. So you could either search for it, so in the search box, they wouldn't let me do that on there, but you can search for the amount, or you can go to the bank here, account transactions, and search for the amount. So you can use the search box. You can search for an exact amount. So you can find your amount, search for it, go into the transaction, and then, so for instance, if this one was an error, we'd put a payment here, perhaps in error. You would just go options, because it would be a transaction that you want to reanalyze on the bank feed. You go remove and redo, and then it would send it back onto your bank feed. So if we go now and look at 10th of September on here, you'll see that it's come back onto here, onto the bank feed as an unreconciled transaction to analyze. But that's like a common thing that can happen. Obviously, you could have duplicates, like I mentioned before, so it could be that. And then going back to the reconciliation screen a minute, if we look at these are unreconciled ones, so those ones are still sitting in your reconcile screen there to reconcile. So once all those reconciled, obviously we should still come back to statement balance equaling. Obviously we've got an issue, this is a demo company, and normally statement balance would match up. So that's a common errors. Thing, if you've got problems, come to us. Obviously we can provide a service to help you resolve bank differences, as I mentioned, with the software, or help you explain what this report shows you if you've got figures on here that you're not sure whether they should be on there or not. But the main thing to take from this video is the importance of agreeing your bank reconciliation on Xero to your physical bank statement. Thanks.